Well, g'day everybody. This week we celebrate with great pride and I think deep remembrance the Anzac tradition. Anzac stands for Australia and New Zealand Army Corps, and of course that included some of our Indigenous men as well. As Australians and New Zealanders, we fought side by side with the Allies in both the First and Second World Wars, and some of these battles were the most pivotal battles in those years, though they're not often celebrated. And I want to bring to you today a couple of them as we remember them. We have a saying that says, at the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. And so today I want to take time over this next 24 hours as we actually celebrate the tremendous commitment and bravery of these guys. Well, the first battle that I want to talk to you about, especially if you're from overseas and perhaps don't know this story, is the battle for Beersheba. And you might ask the question, what was the backdrop for Israel becoming a nation? And you need to understand that actually the Anzacs, 800 Aussie, New Zealand light horsemen on horseback, took the wells of Beersheba from the Turks and actually opened the way into Jerusalem. It was dark on dusk in 1917, on the 31st of October. Australia was the newest nation on the earth, having received its nationhood, if you like, in 1901. So we're just a fledgling nation with a few horses. And we took the challenge that nobody had been able to achieve of actually routing the Turks from their dugouts in the wells of Beersheba that was holding up a lot of the warfare on the Sinai Peninsula. Well, this evening of the 31st, as the sun was about to set, these mad Aussies, as the Turks called us, bunch of madmen, actually decided to make a charge across the 3 miles of open country right into the face of the guns of the Turkish army. So as they set out at a canter, it was expected that in the warfare of the day they would get to a point and dismount, and then the traditional warfare battle would ensue. But these Aussie guys didn't do that. They didn't stop and dismount. Instead, they just charged straight into the guns of the Turkish military. But what happened was actually quite miraculous. Their horses went so fast that they actually got under the guns and under the reach of the guns of the Turkish ammunition. As they lowered their guns, they couldn't lower them quickly enough, and the horses, many of them, simply got in underneath, and there was a great battle that ensued. But the Aussies actually took the wells of Beersheba that day and routed the Turks, who left the wells, which was good because our horses could have a drink, and they opened the way into Jerusalem. And decisions were made even within a very short time of that the beginning of the nation of Israel, coming back to its own land, would be formed. And so if you ask, where does the Australian nation stand, if you like, in biblical history, it stands on that ground, that we had a great part to play in Israel getting its nationhood. And to this very day, Australia and Israel are the very best of friends. So I thought you might be interested to see a couple of artefacts from that battle. This was the hat that the light horse wore with the emu plumes, and it was very distinctively Australian. It still is to this day. And then, it's a bit big. And then, this is a treasured piece of memorabilia for myself. This is a sword that was carried in that battle by the officers in the Light Horse Brigade. And it's an honour for me. It was a gift given to me some years ago, which I've treasured ever since. But this was the sword that was carried by the officers. I thought you might be interested to just see a little bit of memorabilia. And just one more piece of show and tell about our wonderful light horseman. This is a model that I'm fascinated with. It's the exact uniform, even down to the buttons and the hat and everything, the trumpet, the bugle, and this is the light horseman. And so somebody has decided to honour them by actually making a model of them. So this is us, this is Australia, and we're proud of our day of Anzac. The second battle that I would like to bring to your remembrance today was another battle with the Anzacs, but this time fought in the Second World War and fought in Papua New Guinea against the Japanese military up there. And this battle is sometimes forgotten, but it was known as the Kokoda Track, and it was in amongst the Owen Stanley Ranges just outside of Port Moresby. And this particular battle is very meaningful to me because my father fought in that Second World War in Papua New Guinea. And they were rescued many times by the Papua New Guinea national people who absolutely saved thousands of lives. But, you know, I remember as a little kid that my grandmother told me about a poem that was written by one of the soldiers there and sent home to his mother. And she sent it to the Brisbane paper, and it was printed at the time. And it was a poem by a guy, Bert Beros. It's a long poem, but I'll just give you one stanza that she would quote to me, because she said that your father, my son, was actually in this battle, and so this poem meant so much to her. And it said this: many a mother in Australia, when her busy day is done, sends a prayer to the Almighty for the keeping of her son, asking that an angel guide him and to bring him safely back. Now we see these prayers are answered on the Owen Stanley track. And so that, to me, was just as a child, it's kind of indelibly imprinted into my mind the anguish of war, the sacrifice of war, and the fact that greater love has no man than this, than a man lay down his life for his mates. And so, as my mother was left at home during that time my father was fighting the Japanese on the Kokoda Trail in the Owen Stanley Ranges, the government of the day gave to the wives of the women who were fighting overseas, they gave them a badge, which my mother has, down through the generations, has passed to me. And I would now like to pass that on to someone. So, Shireen, I wonder if you would just come for just a minute, because this badge that was given to my mother and now has come down to me, it's now time for you to have this in memory of your grandfather and your grandmother, whom you never met, and then to be able to pass it on to your kids and the next generation. Just a little family heirloom. Awesome. So here's Australia, Anzac Day, remembering those that have fallen and saluting them for their courage and their devotion and their love for nation and family to have given their lives. So we honour and salute that today. And we say, they shall not grow old, as we that are let grow old Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning we will remember them, lest we forget.